They are going to test.
He said they struggled. He said it was a rough testing.
Yeah,
They got all new guys, you know.
I was, this guy that travels with Morgan and them, he said something. I was watching him on Facebook. It sounds like all the top, I mean, Schumacher and Brown, I guess, tested okay.
Yeah, and Brittany, she tested well too. Of course, you got AJ with her.
I know.
They tested well.
Yeah, they, and what Colin said, or Make-A-Wish,
Yeah.
20-car record.
Yeah. I mean, the bad thing about testing, you put all your eggs in that basket, then you get to the track and something goes wrong, you don't know where you're at. You know what I mean? That's the... But hopefully they got it figured out.
So he's got a whole new crew, huh?
Yeah. New assistant crew chief, all new flex guy, new everybody.
Where'd everybody go from Redline?
They fired just about the whole crew. Yep, they said they were starting fresh and going for a championship.
Where were they at in Indy?
They're not. They're in Michigan.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. Now, because Connie has 2 airports up there.
Oh, up there.
And he built a race shop pretty close to the one office and stuff. But now everything's in Michigan.
I need to take the gloves off. Thank you.
Tony, did you have a chance to get anything price-wise?
No, I really haven't. Not yet. What do we got here for?
That's those lots on
You find out anything, Sats?
Fair Street.
Hey, sir.
Junior asked about him getting them.
Fast.
Well, no, they have to be. This is the basic submittal for the planning commission, and then city council.
So Mike follows through.
He did follow.
Okay.
That's right. Apparently it's been wrong.
Well, I tell you what, like, whatever he grabbed, or whatever he had, I grabbed and gave him the vibes. They had to come right to it's supposed to make the number.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay, that's fine. Now what?
I saw a blue pen, so I was like, no.
Your ears were purple.
Oh, okay.
That's funny.
Here, you want this back probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, because remember, we wouldn't got the one off the shelf.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were there. I'll probably see it.
What's that?
What George,
Randy, but Mel doesn't have anything except for his son's drink. Thank you, sir.
Mel? How are you?
I'm good, Dennis. How you doing?
Mr. Lawyer, how are you doing? Good, I'm good. How are you, Dennis?
Yeah.
That's what my mom calls me, too. What do you think? Mr. Lawyer. Oh, I don't know. What do you think?
Stand up there, and if you've got any questions, we get him
I'm not interested in these properties. I don't know why we have to buy homes that are perfectly resellable.
8? Holy moly. She probably called you everyone else's name before she finally got to yours.
Yeah. What was that? I like the design of that.
Oh, those, that, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not in favor of it.
What do you want to do?
One reason being, that
Was for us to do a visual while they're doing
I just up and said, well, hi, I have a question here, and I was drunk, and I said, yeah, I
And now, you saying
so you're
that,
here, I can sign up.
so does that mean that?
My wife was
they don't have to pay for phase 2, but
If they come into something.
But does someone need to monitor the demolition?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Are they gonna pay them to do that, or we're gonna?
Sign them away and then I'll pass them down to you.
Stop by if you smell high VOC.
I'm not taking out a loan or
They were gonna build Eagles here.
You keep the paper copy, just send me a digital.
Got property where they're at, and
Forward it
then
on
another
to
one
me.
on the other street.
This is a note back from the ARA.
Hi, young lady, how are you? I'm doing well, thank you.
Okay.
I did see today where we did get approved, so
Yeah, they,
money will come back.
one of them got a letter in the mail saying they had to send their application back in. After they were told they were approved for it.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Director Brian Westmore,
Present.
Chairman Mel Davis,
Here.
Vice Chairman Bob Rigel,
Here.
Secretary Tony Abbott,
Here.
Taylor Senior,
Present.
Dennis Hutchins,
Present.
School Board Member Patrick Myers is absent, and City Attorney Del Weldon.
Here.
I assume everyone's had a chance to read the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I've got a question about the minutes. Weren't we to instruct someone to get appraisals on the Weber property, and that wasn't in here?
I can tell you that that's been done, I believe, Brian.
No, I was not under the impression that we had requested appraisals. I was under the impression that the board was going to take a look at the property and get familiar with,
Yeah, at the last meeting, he was at the meeting, and I told him I would come and see him, and I did, and I didn't talk about appraisals with him, because I didn't have that information, but I asked him what just as a board member, I asked him what his bottom line was. And to make a long story short, he needs $62,000 for it to work if he takes the building down. And that's his bottom line number. If we can't do that number, he's perfectly willing to keep the property and continue to rent it. There's no hard feelings either way. The property is next to a lot that was sold recently to the McAdams family, and theirs is a much bigger lot. I'm not sure, I don't know the dimensions on the lot, I haven't seen the actual dimensions. I'm not sure we could build more than one house on that lot. So what we're looking at is a $62,000 commitment is what he wants. And I told him I would bring it back, and I called Mel Davis right away and had a meeting with Mel. And then I asked Mel under Sunshine Act if he would contact the other members and inform them as to what conversation I had with Mr. Weber. And I assume that Mel did that, so.
I'm under the impression that the next step for me would be to obtain the appraisals if that's the direction of the board.
Then it would be up to the board to decide whether they want to. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So we would need the appraisal first, right? So we,
That's correct.
okay.
Oh, by the way, he said he had the value of the home before, but it wasn't current at 85 or 87,000. And that was before he sold the lot next door.
Right.
And that went for 22 and change. Put into him.
And just to be clear, I think the initial question by Mr. Seymour was as to what action was taken at the last
That'll work.
meeting, which was what was reflected in the minutes. And I agree with Mr. Messmore that we didn't agree to actually do the appraisals last time, and so that would be consistent with the minutes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
But we are now, right?
Well, we got to get through this first, the
Okay,
minutes.
fine.
Sure.
So I'm still waiting on a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any announcements? Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Mel. In front of you, there is a preliminary subdivision plat. This has been in progress for a while. I think, was it Brett Luke, I think, was the final piece to this puzzle. We have the preliminary done, and unless you guys tell me to hit the brakes, I will have this in front of the Plan Commission on Wednesday, March the 2nd, and then forward it on to Common Council on Monday, March 7. And in theory, if everything goes well, we could actually have this recorded on Tuesday, March 8th. That would create some lots of record available for house sites. I just want to make sure everyone's still on board with this before I follow through with it.
Mike, let me ask you a question. Last meeting, Paul Seymour came to the podium and talked about a couple of lots that were 5 lots could possibly be converted to 4. Where do we stand on that before we, but that's not both of them, is it?
That's this.
Is it the whole thing?
Yeah. Yeah, there's 5.
But just one location?
5 33-foot wide lots, and we've changed that now. We've replatted it to 4 40-foot wide lots.
Isn't there another one? Was this the only one, Paul?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thanks.
So, yeah, that's the same property.
All right.
And if I may, Chairman, if it pleases the board, I'd just like to make a general announcement, and it's kind of directed toward the public more than the board. But first of all, and first and foremost, we very much appreciate everyone's patience. I know there are people at the meeting today that have come to many meetings. And as a new city attorney with a new board, a new mayor, a new administration, part of our job obviously is to not only move forward with new business, but to compile all the old business and go through that and make sure that things that were approved or things that were acted upon in 2015 are being carried forward to 2016. That is being done, and we have a wonderful staff here. We have a wonderful board, and we have a wonderful director, but that process takes a little bit of time. And so I think it is worth mentioning that we very much appreciate everyone's patience. Obviously, this is for you, and redevelopment is not possible without willing and able participants. And so it struck me today in preparing for the meeting that there are some issues that have come up a couple of times, and we are working very hard to understand those issues and to take action. So we thank you for your patience. We thank you for continuing to come back.
And I do have an additional announcement, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Property owner at 351 Arch Street had requested to purchase property address 347 Arch Street. And in previous minutes, we were instructed to get the appraisals. Those were back. We have located the appraisals, and their average is $19,000. But what we would need to do next, as I understand, is advertise that property at 347 Arch Street. And then once that's done, it may be available for the original property owner's interest to pursue. So I would be looking for approval to advertise that property.
Should we do that now or under old business?
It's kind of old business, but they got stuck on announcements tonight.
Tony,
I'll make the motion to go ahead and advertise Arch Street property.
second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed?
See, that has to be advertised for 30 days.
Financial report, Kelly, would you?
The current balance as of February 1st, 2016 is $2,569,900. $59,119.29.
Thank you. New business, Terry Hall.
Good evening. I own two of the properties on Main Street that we're requesting your consideration. I own 620 and 624, and my mother-in-law, who's also here, owns 618. My husband was a land surveyor, and we used those properties as the land surveying office, but he passed away last spring, and we were here then to ask if you would consider purchasing those properties. We were under the impression that one thing you might be interested in is using those properties to kind of beautify the entrance to the city of Lawrenceburg, because they're right there at the city line. At that time, it was suggested that we approach Seagram's, well, MGP now, that they may have an interest in those properties, and I did get a response from them, and they were not interested in them except for the value of the land, which I'm not in a position to accept that low price because I do have a mortgage on those properties. So this evening, I would like to come to you again and ask if there would be a way that you would be interested in those properties for any type of use that you might have for those properties.
Any discussion or comments from the board?
Mike's got his hand up.
Yeah, just to bring the new board up to speed, if you do look at the property inventory sheet on there, that area, working with the previous director of redevelopment, was on the list of areas to look at for gateway improvements. Actually, on that list, we were actually looking on the east side of Front Street from 6th to the corporate limits, because you got some older structures, kind of falls straight off. So I don't know what your opinion is, but I know I was working with the previous director on that, and that was on his list to look at for gateway improvements.
Could you step back up to the mic for a minute? You don't want to share with us what that land value was, do you?
He did not say, and I just went to the Beacon Snyder website that the county uses for the assessment purposes, and one of those values I think was 15, and the other was 10, and I think the other was 9.
He didn't make you an offer on that?
No, he did not make an offer. No. He said that they would have really no use for those properties, so if they would acquire them, they would tear the buildings down, and then that's what prompted them, because they had people in from Kansas who were the higher-ups, and that's what prompted them to say that they would only offer the land value.
Are they, I'm not real familiar with that property, are there houses? Is that what they are?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Or is anybody living in them?
No.
How long they been vacant?
The company officially closed September 1st, so I still have some of the records and that kind of thing stored there now. I'm in the process of building a new shed to put those in because state law requires that I have to hold on to those records, and so I'm building a shed to move that to the shed on my property. I live in Dillsboro, so until I get that done, I'm kind of caught until I can move more. So, but eventually I will empty the...
Did we see the properties?
Yeah, that's...
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So is there a way we can get a hold of you? And would that be okay?
Yeah, I can give you contact information.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
My home phone number is 432-5411.
It's all on your letter here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I will make a note, my cell phone is 584-6596, but I'll give a note that that's spotty reception.
But all of the electricity's on and everything, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, heat's on, electricity's on, plumbing.
And that's 618, 620, and 624 Main Street.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I drove by the properties. If you want to hang around afterwards, or I'll call you, maybe a couple of us will go take a look at them. We
Okay.
can only kind of go 2 at a time with sunshine laws and things like that.
Oh, okay, I see.
So
Okay, sure.
we just have to be aware of those things.
Mhm.
We'll
Okay.
look at them for you.
Okay. The one property is, we started to remodel it, and we've got it gutted. Now,
Center one?
that's 624. That would be the one further north.
Okay.
But I kind of got that boarded up so nobody could get in there because we didn't finish the remodeling. That kind of coincided with the crash of the economy, and we basically ran out of money. So we use it for storage, but we've got that door boarded shut. So if you want to see that one, I can get somebody to get that open for me so that I can show that one to you.
It's also,
Personally, I think Bob feels the same way. You came to council, and you came to this committee and asked, so I think we should go look at them for you.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I can do that. My mother-in-law's is 487
Hold on, I don't have that one. Okay, go ahead.
487-2087, because if I'm at work,
2 as well?
I'm sorry,
812?
yes, uh-huh.
Now, what's your name, ma'am?
Gloria Hall.
Okay.
Because she can show you if I happen to be at work, so,
Okay.
I'd just like to discuss with the board, I think that, conceptually, we need to consider if in fact the gateway into the city from that direction is the premise for the viewing of the properties. I mean, we would have to appraise the properties, and we could offer just the standard appraisal of value. And then the property use, I don't what our intentions would be, but I don't know that the structures would be, in our long-term plans.
So why don't we just take a peek first, and then talk about whether we go to appraisal? Does that make sense with the board?
Will you continuing this till the next meeting then?
Yeah. Yeah, we could table it.
I'll entertain a motion to table until the next meeting.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion's been moved and seconded.
Thank you.
okay. Will anybody want to see them this evening, or set up another appointment?
I'll go after the meeting if you want to wait.
Okay, and it doesn't make any difference, I just
Sure.
wasn't going to stick around if nobody was going to come tonight.
No, I'll go.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
All in favor of table?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passed. Jeff Bittner and Joe King.
Thanks for having us in here tonight. Joe and I submitted a package to you which outlines our desire to build 5 or 6 houses on the Maple Street and Center Street properties owned by the Redevelopment Commission. It appears that this property was advertised in the following manner. The City of Lawrenceburg, Indiana, through its Redevelopment Commission, is accepting proposals for the purchase and development of a commercial lot located at 322.5 Maple and a residential lot located at 322 West Center Street. These 2 adjacent lots are vacant property and need a commercial and/or residential development and are currently zoned levy business and residential respectively. The submittals were due on or before December 14, 2015. The notice ends by expressing that the Redevelopment Commission retains the right to review, negotiate, and award a contract as it so desires, taking into consideration the value, clarity, desirability, timeframes, past development record, and financial strength. In this regard, you can see the results of my efforts in the development record by walking through the Indicom building located at 201 Walnut and seeing firsthand the rebuilding and remodeling that was done to repair the damage caused by the 1937 flood. The floors were still buckled approximately 18 inches high. The back of the building was completely unusable, and it was never fixed until I bought the building. I can also arrange a walkthrough of the former duplex, now a single family with 5 bedrooms and 2 baths located on Charlotte Street. This was a total rehab including all mechanicals. We got it as a result of a HUD repo and turned it into a very nice residence. Jill is my partner, and she's the funding arm of the project that we're talking about tonight. We would build a large garage next to the tracks, which would be used to help block the sound and the view of the jail as well as the rest of the Dearborn County campus. The remainder of the lots will have single-family residences and two-car garages attached to them. You have a sample plot plan that I included. This is subject to modification as needed by the engineers laying out the subdivision. So if there's a telephone pole in the way of a line where a driveway has to be, we may have to shift it just a little bit yet. It still has to be laid out, but this is a preliminary. Gives you an idea what we're trying to do. As part of the development, we're proposing that the alley separating the properties be vacated and become part of this development. And we've had some conversations with the city about this, and so far it looks pretty good that that's possible to do. We have also submitted 2 sample house plans, just to give you an idea of what type of houses we want to build there and what they would look like. As you can see, they got brick on the front. They're very attractive houses, and those are 2 plans that we're very interested in, subject to maybe a couple little modifications on them. One, we'd put a door in the front instead of off to the side, so take a look at those and see what you think. These are single-family, single-story homes with accessibility needs in mind. These will be designed so anybody from a first-time homeowner up to independent living seniors can enjoy the benefits of living in downtown Lawrenceburg. Jill and I want to live at the building closest to the garage we'd be building. We would like to move forward with the project under the same conditions and considerations as afforded to other contractors building in Lawrenceburg. It's our goal to make these homes affordable and desirable. Mr. Seymour has done a great job with his building efforts, and we're not looking at this as a competition with Mr. Seymour. We're looking at it as a joint effort and provided needed housing in Lawrenceburg. With that said, we all must be under the same rules and agreements in order to be on a level playing field. Our proposal is as follows. We would pay for the surveying and plat changes for the new subdivision, because it's dividing it up into pieces, of course, as you see. The purchase price will be remained at the $10 per lot as been the current agreement with other contractors in the area. The city would redraw the zoning map for the commercial property and alley, making it residential, so it's just basically redoing the plat. Since the commercial section was used as a scrapyard, a Phase 1 and probably a Phase 2 environmental study will be necessary. We have been told that this has been already performed under the Tremaine administration and may have been done by H.C. Nutting Company. No one I've talked to knows where the study is located at this point. If it cannot be found, we're asking the city to have this done to make the property usable and buildable. The cost for a Phase 1 is approximately $1,750, and a Phase 2, if needed, is between $5,000 and $35,000. With the size of the lot, it should be toward the lower end of the scale. This is per Wetzig Engineering. The housing will be eligible for up to 10% of the $15,000 grant program for new home buyers. And basically any considerations given to current contractors, we want to be made known and make them available to us as well for this and future projects. And we will either have a house in the building process or one for sale at all times until the homes are sold. That's pretty much what we came up with.
You know the square footage of the homes?
They're right around 1,400 square feet. And they're all basically slab homes. There's no basements.
And you're gonna live in the first one?
That's correct.
Will that act as a model too, did you say? Or
Yes.
Okay.
What's those homes going to sell for?
We're looking at the 150 to 160 range.
Okay.
Kind of depends on how the costs go with setting up the subdivision end of it.
The alley that you talked about, I assume you met with Mike when you said you met with the city?
Correct.
If the alley were vacated, would that mean 6 houses? And if it's not, it would mean 5 houses?
That's right. That's why you have the 5 to 6.
Now it ties it together, okay.
And again, that's where we run into that engineering thing where we might have to shift the lines just a little bit here and there to make it all work because of the alley.
The first two lots, would they face Center Street based on this drawing, or?
The first two lots would face Center Street, and we're looking at possibly a side entry garage on those. Keep the traffic off of Center turning in. But again, that's subject to, the engineers laying out the subdivision.
Mario?
Sir.
Any information on any previous phases, 1 and 2?
The environmental's already on the upper portion of the, what we call the junkyard lot.
By the
We haven't
tracks?
asked for those yet, but I think we have those in the can.
That'd be great if we can get those. Again, it takes that whole issue off the table.
You have the phase 1?
Well, phase 1, yeah, we do have that back when I think mental health was looking at that
Well,
property.
when you do a phase 1, that recommends whether you have to do a phase 2, right?
Correct.
What did it say?
Like I says, it's dated, it's going back a few years. I think, again, there was some material on that property, but it was deemed underneath the levels that was caustic and was buildable.
Buildable for a slab home, or could you put a basement home in there? Could you dig in it or not?
I think so, without seeing the information here at hand. It's been a while back.
So, I mean, if we did do this deal, I mean, it could end up costing us some money for a phase 2. Is there
Well,
something
my
there?
recommendation would be let us research the phase 1, or I should say, the borrow information we have.
Okay. I'd like to ask you one other thing. What about the Lawrenceburg Eagles? Last I knew, the previous administration was trying to work out a land deal for this property to put at the Eagles Club there. Is that still an ongoing thing, or
That,
you guys know anything about it?
I think it was advertised, the 30 days expired, and I don't think they ever came back.
Okay.
How long ago was that advertised?
Early December, I think.
Oh, okay.
What was it, Mike?
I believe it was early December. Mr. Messer.
Thursday, November 26th.
Oh.
Last year,
Yes, sir.
that soon?
Pardon me?
That soon? I'm surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking at the-
recent.
it was discussed in numerous meetings, and I think 2 years in process.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And I also would just like to bring to light that I'm not 100% certain that the two most southern properties were appraised or advertised. Maybe they were back in that time frame, but Kelly and I have been digging, doing our best to try to come totally prepared for you.
No, if you look at his exhibit, or I should say aerial shot here, those were occupied.
These.
Those
Those were the current appraisals. Those are the current advertisements.
Tony, wasn't the whole site?
I thought it was just the upper lot.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But somewhere that's wrote down where they discussed it, right, or was
I
it
think
not?
discussed, but I don't believe the whole site's ever been
Right, I think
appraised, as an entire site.
Yeah.
I think the appraisals came back for part.
correct. Because at one time, mental health was looking at that, I think Paul Senior probably remember that. They were advertised at that time, but that was just the junkyard portion of the lot. The upper lot, or I should say, the northern part of the lot itself was still occupied by.
Okay, well, when I say the upper lot, I'm talking the junkyard portion.
Correct,
Up
correct.
Towards the railroad
South
tracks.
end.
Yeah.
Yep,
Which is the railroad end?
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
So you probably need to go ahead and get the entire site appraised. I mean, is that what your findings?
Well, the first 322 and 322 and a half have been appraised. I have the copy of the appraisals here. We're trying to determine for sure whether or not the 4 parcels were appraised and advertised. I can only prove to you right now that 2 were, the front 2. I'm not done digging. We have some environmentals, and perhaps that might lead us down that path. The other thing I could do is, in lieu of finding that information, ask for permission to...
What was the date of the appraisals that you found?
These? No.
So there's a couple that were appraised. What was the date of not the ad, the appraisal?
Give me a second here to figure it out where the date is. It would have to be after that, or before that, I'm sorry.
Jeff, were you under the assumption that all of it was appraised?
You know, I wasn't sure what they used to determine what was 322 and what was 322 and a half.
July of 2015 was the appraisal.
Wow.
And the advertisement in November, apparently.
Okay. Mike, when you talk to him about the alley, is there any problems with the alley that you could talk about?
It's possible. We don't have any major utilities through that. Fortunately, the garbage trucks head north and south on that alley, which is actually a big deal.
There's fiber running through it,
Is there, okay, I was unaware of the fiber.
just as of October, I believe. That was the new
Okay.
route from the cell tower.
Was it? So, and there again, we'd have to get all the information. It's gonna have to go in front of council. Council would have to be the ones to make the final decision to vacate.
And also, some other things to consider too is, Mr. Seymour gets these lots for $10, but we have bank statements where he's getting the money to build them, so we need all the financials for it. There's hoops to jump through there,
Oh, sure.
so.
Just
And also-
curious, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Also, that 15% that you're looking forward to, we don't know if that's gonna be available for those homes or not. We have them for so many of them, and I don't know if we've used all of that or not.
There isn't any money left in there that
Seymour
I'm
says
aware
it's
of.
all gone, so we would have to appropriate,
Don't even know
more
if
money.
that program's gonna be.
Main Street was completely depleted last year.
Okay, so they may not even have that 15%.
I have a feeling the housing programs would probably kind of come to a halt then, in my opinion, because that's a big incentive for people to buy, and
Yes, it is.
that's
But
their down payment.
we've got to find out if we can do it or not, and we can't get an answer right away. So it looks to me like we're gonna put this on the shelf, right? Get that-
Who answers that question?
I think that's the mayor's program.
No, that's actually ours, but it's.
So that's you guys.
It's ours, and it
You
comes out
decide
of our
if you
budget.
want
I'd rather it
to.
be the mayor, then they wouldn't come back on me.
No, it's up to you guys, and it was set up originally where every year they would put so much money in on what the norm was, and they always figured, hey, if we have a big housing boom, we can always, you guys could always vote to reload it and, add some additional funding to it to keep the housing going, if
If it's
that
in our,
would be, that's a good problem, guys.
Well, Mike,
our
actually,
budget, and we just took we're gonna take a $925,000 hit on our budget.
well,
For
the
the
previous board did, that's correct. But, later in the meeting, under further discussion, I'd like to talk about possibly reloading that with Main Street or something. So I think that's a good topic, but let's hold off on it for a couple of minutes or so.
I think, Paul's been involved in it. I mean, I guess that is, and, when we had bought our condo, the people in front of us that owned it first got that. But it sounds like it's a very, very big deal. And it sounds like somehow we got to get it funded, whether
We can.
we go to the mayor or something like that, because like you said,
It's a big incentive.
It's a huge incentive, and I, as one member, will tell you, I'm completely in support of continuing the program. No, not for the obvious reason, but,
Paul, when you
I
built
say
that
that
house, is that-
sincerely.
was that
I do. I
real
say
big
that.
incentive for the people.
Go ahead. You want to take the mic?
And before we
Go ahead.
end, I'd like to introduce myself.
Oh, don't go away, you guys. Just let Paul jump up for a minute.
Come on, stay on topic.
You just invested close to $70,000, and it sounds like, I didn't never see it, but we're changing those 5 lots into 4. So I'd like to see, at some point, decisions made. I hate tabling. I hate it. it's 30 days. It's winter time. Winter time's when you make all these decisions so that the guys can get working.
I agree.
You guys just need to make a decision as a group, I feel like tonight, whether you're committed to the housing program and other stuff. It's time, you know, you've been put on this board, and I know Kelly's busy.
Mr. Seymour, later in the meeting, I'm going to propose that we allocate $60,000 for that program to continue it. I have to get a vote, but that's what I'm going to propose.
That's fine. I mean, Jeff's bringing something before you tonight. I think, you know, there's two things you guys need to realize, that it doesn't matter what the people want for their property. That's one big thing. Doesn't matter, you either want to get appraisals or you don't. Because the appraisals, and I think I'm not speaking out here, the appraisals are going to tell the whole story. That might kill the deal. It's a matter of whether you're willing to spend that $300 to $900 to get the appraisals on your property and what you're fixing to do. So that's kind of the decision is if you table a decision like that, we're 30 days from now putting that appraisal into motion. Is it worth that $300, $800 to you to get it done, or are we going to talk about it? Because I've been, and before you guys got sitting there, I was watching it happen. I've been watching this for 5 months now. I'd just like to see some decision-making happen to where some of these things get put in front of us and we can move on it. So that's all I want to say is it's going to take a commitment, and it doesn't bother me any if you guys don't want to go that route. But guys like me need to know, because we've got subcontractors, we've got to spring the plan. And frankly, if I know that you're not committed to the housing program, I'll look a different direction. If I know you are, and Jeff made a comment here, I can tell you right now, I'm not building any more houses without that incentive. I can't.
Paul, excuse me for a second, but Paul made a premature announcement. He's going to ask for $60,000, but I didn't agree to be on this redevelopment council to sit around and do nothing for 4 years, or for 1 year to 4 years. And I happen to believe in this housing project huge. You know, I mean, you guys, you know, I just built a house, so, you know, you can snicker all you want, but Paul, you know, when we were in this town, Paul started with one house over there on Casino Way. You look over there and it was one house and it was two houses, but there was a long period there before it got really launched. I mean, right or wrong.
It's going to take commitment, guys.
Yeah, and we have started a process here to where people are willing to buy homes and build homes in this community. Jeff has come forward to put up 6 more homes in this community in an area where it would only enhance it. We're not evicting anybody or anything else. And Tony, I know that you guys spent $925,000 for it over there on Front Street, but that's got absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about right now and the philosophy of how we're going to go forward to improve our town. There could be other projects in addition to housing projects that we may want to get involved in redevelopment. And we're going to have to find some place, if it's Main Street or someplace else, to put these programs in play and make them to where we don't have to wait 30, 60, 90 days. You know, I came 4 months for my home. I mean, I'm just using it as an example, but this is the winter time. Your point is exactly apropos. This is now when we should be making decisions that they'll be able to break ground in 60 days and get something started. Am I wrong, Paul? I mean, they want to be building in the spring, not coming back here in the spring.
Yeah.
If we're going to do this, I think we should make some decisions here.
And I don't want to make it sound like I'm criticizing you guys because you've only had 2 meetings. I'm in the same boat. I've been criticized the last week, and I say, wow, if I've made you this mad in 2 meetings, 4 years from now, you're really going to be mad at me. But I'm not criticizing you. I'm just asking you to take a direction and try to make decisions and understand that appraisal is a big deal. If you don't want to do it, that appraisal, you know, you just say, hey, no, I'm not interested, I'm not going to appraise it. But there ain't no sense in talking to nobody about how much they think their house is worth, because it don't make no difference until the appraisals come in.
Well, we had a lady come up to the podium right before you, and it's a courtesy to them because they've approached us. I agreed to take my time to go see it tonight, but I'm not willing to spend $900 to appraise 3 houses before we take a look at it. That's what that was all about, Paul. But in general, I agree with you philosophically. I was extending a courtesy as a board member to those 2 women, and that still holds for tonight. Fair enough.
You know, I had some customers come down from Logansport for the casino, and we had dinner. I told them where I lived. And they spent the next day, they drove around to your area back there. And she said, as pretty as your place is and the places back there, there's a lot of dumps. And you know what? That almost offended me to say, wow, I live in Lawrenceburg. And then I drove around and it is. I just, if we don't want to move forward with the housing, then what are we going to use the city for? You know, that kind of hit home, not really noticing it, but, you know, I didn't even know Paul's existed till we started looking, and those are beautiful. And I take Jeff and them, we'll make it look nice too, so. Now, on the property that Jeff's looking at, you said we would have to have it appraised, right? Or we'll keep digging and digging and.
You have,
Partial.
What I have not been able to determine for sure is the 2 properties closest to the railroad tracks have been appraised and or advertised in that sequence. We're trying to find it out before tonight the best we could. And that's what I was going to get to, if you could give me the, authority, if I can't discover that in the next week or so, to go ahead and take action and have those appraised. So if you're conceptually okay with this project, then we can still make some progress while we're.
First, I would see if we
Put some
can find
things out.
that phase 1, see what it says, because
Okay.
I don't want to spend a fortune on a phase 2. I mean, I'd at least like to know what we're going to spend on it, because that was a junkyard, and there's going to be oil all over that, I would think. So there's going to have to be something for a phase 2 to be cleaned up. And until I know that number, I really don't want to do anything with the property.
Well, let us research and get that information. There were environmentals that were completed on.
If you're not able to find it, we'll just have to do another one. Another phase 1.
But then we're saying we're tabling it again, right?
You no choice.
No other choice, I know.
There's nothing we can do right now tonight. I mean, we need your financials, the bank statements
I don't think it
and all
means we're
that before.
tabling it. I think it means we're going ahead with the, trying to find the phase 2 or phase 1 rather, and to figure out if the whole lot has been appraised or not. So I don't think it means we're tabling. There's just things that we have to do.
Yeah, to find out, yes.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that phase 1's not going to impact the appraisals. You could go ahead and authorize Brian to have it appraised.
Right.
I'm in favor of that, Mel.
What's that?
I'm in favor of having them appraised.
I need a motion.
I'd make a motion that the lots that have not been appraised, to have them appraised.
I second that.
Whoa.
Wait a minute. I don't think he knows which lots have been appraised, so I think.
Right.
Well, he did.
No, I know which ones
He
have.
specifically said which lots have
You
been
do-
appraised.
you do
Yeah,
know-
322,
Yes, he does.
322 and a half
All right.
have been appraised.
Right.
It's the 2 most southern lots.
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
Mr. Bittner, you said one thing, that the big building next to the railroad was going to be a garage.
Correct.
It's not going to be your business warehouse?
No, it's going to be a garage, our garage.
Won't be no phones in there at all?
Might have a phone connecting it to the house.
Well, yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So it's not a commercial situation, okay.
Hey, Jeff, while we got you guys up here, what are your plans for the old Jackson Hardware? Do you have plans, or?
Right now, we're starting to move Indicom back up into the front and set it up as a retail showroom for both Dish, TV. We just got a dealership for Nextiva, which is a cloud-based telephone service. And then also, we're putting in all the computer and telephone connectivity, like jacks, patch cords and stuff you have to drive to Micro Center to get, or we're going to have it locally for about half the price. So that's what we're doing in the front of that right now.
So you're putting a little electronics connection store in there?
Right, we've been working hard on that, getting the shelving and stuff set up. But I just want a point of clarification. When I talked to the engineers today, I asked them what actually would be involved with the Phase 1 and the Phase 2, what the difference was, because I was, I've heard the terms a lot, but I've never really delved into it. And from what they told me, the Phase 1 is basically doing research on it, going to archives, seeing what the past was for the property, and then doing a cursory look over on the property. The only time you get involved with the soil samples, digging cores, and that's all Phase 2. So that was the big difference between the two.
Right, right, and which I would say they'll probably recommend a Phase 2 because it was a junkyard.
That's what exactly, I asked him, I said, now, and again, it depends on what the property was used for, whether they recommend a Phase 2. I told him it was listed as a scrapyard on the Beacon website, and he says, well, it's probably a Phase 2 situation.
There again, a Phase 2 may have been done. I'm thinking that it
Those
was,
soil
Tony.
samples have been taken. Like I said, let us research that. I think we have that in the can.
How long will that take, do you think, Mario, roughly?
Oh, we'll find out tomorrow if we have the information on it.
Yeah, the reason I ask is I tend to agree with Paul Seymour, that came up to the podium. I'm not for tabling everything all the time. I know we have to let me finish, please. I know we have to get a survey here. I understand that. I understand it takes time. But that doesn't mean we can't set a work session for later in the month and discuss this project or maybe a couple other projects at the same time. I don't think we have to wait 30 days to meet all the time, do we?
Yes,
We do?
this is the redevelopment committee.
We can't have a work session?
You can.
Okay. Well, we'll miss you.
You may.
But, I mean, I'm just saying we could have a work session, couldn't we, to proceed with it? Do we have to wait 30 days?
48 hours.
48 hours, okay, good, thanks. Thanks.
Mr. Bittner, I've got a couple questions, really not, maybe I'm way out of bounds, but you've got a loan with the city of Lawrenceburg,
That's correct.
and it is up to date,
Yes.
but it's a balloon loan, and the balloon date is past due.
Correct.
What's your steps as far as that?
Well, in the letters that I received from the previous city attorney, there was a methodology to renew the note, and said the city would be interested in looking at that as an option. I responded to it and never received any kind of replies whatsoever. So I would assume that that's probably something that the city's going to look at as far as the loan committee goes and those type of things to get those renewed. The thing is I'm glad you brought it up. This is a big deal.
So am I.
When you get involved with the old buildings like you have down here in Lawrenceburg, you put a lot of money into them to get them up to some sort of usable, condition. And when you do that, you oftentimes, such as we did, you go way over on what the building's actually worth. So if you go to a financial institution and say, hey, look, I got just for round numbers, I got a $100,000 building that I owe $150,000 on. These are just fictitious numbers, but, well, that's not something you can get refinanced. Now, fortunately, what we've done over the course of the past 6 years since I bought the building, we've made our payments every month, and we made them on time. We paid the principal down by a substantial amount, and the city made interest during that same period. It's not like a grant where you give away $100,000 to put up something on a building. Okay, you're getting it back, and that's the beauty of it. And in my honest opinion, if some sort of loan committee or loan program isn't maintained in the city, then it's going to be really difficult for people to continue on with rebuilding these old buildings. In Cincinnati, for instance, we wouldn't have a Banks project. We would not have the renaissance of Over the Rhine if it wasn't for a partnership between the city and the individuals. And that's so important for Lawrenceburg to, get involved with, to continue the efforts to continue making it as nice as it can possibly be down here. So that's my short answer in a long format.
That's why I would like I said, I'd like to see all the financials, the same way we made Mr. Seymour do, what the bank says, when the bank will give you the money, and how much money they'll give you for each house. We have to have all that before I would vote okay to do this.
You understand, I'm the construction project manager. I'm a partner in this. It's actually Jill's project. She's owns the house. I mean, it's that whole,
Okay, well, your name was on there, so I'll just say
Absolutely.
you're a partner of it. Are you a partner, or are you just working for her?
I work for. No, we're partners all the way down the line.
All right, so then it's just as much you as it is her, then.
Absolutely.
So, real quickly, I'm Jill King. I've lived in the community since '99. So, I've been involved in a lot of community projects over the years. I plan on staying in the community. I frankly miss living downtown. I haven't lived downtown here, but I lived downtown Chicago, and I lived in downtown Cincinnati for 20 years. I renovated a house in a historic district in downtown Cincinnati, and was president of the Community Neighborhood Association, worked with the downtown city of Cincinnati Development Department on some over the Rhine and the whole corridor up to Clifton. So anyhow, I'm anxious to get back downtown. It's a smaller downtown, but I actually think that this being a golf cart community, hence the reason for the 2-car garage, the fenced-in backyards. I can't wait to be able to have my little golf cart and go to the store and go to the restaurants and go to the businesses. I don't know why I got nervous, but yeah, I'm just excited, I guess, really. I miss, going down the Serpentine Wall and doing all the exercising and walking, and we have, the levee all the way to Aurora. I see Bob and his wife doing it. I want to do it too. I want to be able to go to the community center. And frankly, I mean, the comment of there's a lot of junk down here, there is. And it's a big risk, or a risk, to do such a project. But if somebody doesn't do it, who's going to do it? Any questions? While I breathe. I'm not usually this nervous.
Any more questions or
questions,
comments? Okay.
Now, hold on a second. Dell, what he had talked about that previously was met with the other attorney. Well, now we have to look into that, or it sounds like nobody ever got back to him?
About the loans?
On the loan, yes.
Yeah, obviously, this isn't the proper forum to discuss
Okay.
that.
Right.
But that's a process. Obviously, the city does have loans. Everyone's aware of that. But today's meeting, I don't think is the
All right.
proper time to discuss that.
Thank you, folks.
Yeah, and I really hate to see, in downtown Cincinnati, I say it all the time, I mean, it took years and years to move forward with projects. I don't know how many millions, probably dollars they spent going to Portland, Oregon to mimic Portland, Oregon. It was like, if you don't make decisions that, are for redevelopment or for the business owners, you'll have a main street downtown Cincinnati that flourished and then fell. And then it moved to Vine Street. I mean, you're going to end up with the exact same thing in a littler way here. And we've got the casino. We have so much going for the community that,
Joe, I want to thank you for coming up to the podium, and Jeff, you too. Jeff, can I ask, you said you're financing, have you secured financing for this, and have you talked to the banks? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready to go with the barn. We're ready to go with the first house. We'll keep moving forward as things either sell or, there's always going to be something happening on the project.
and we first talked about some riverfront property. Or, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to have a 4-story house on the river. That property, the city hasn't made available yet. I guess we're willing to live by the jail, put up a building and make it a cute little community there. Jeff, we have the Charlotte Street property on that alley. If we have to keep the alley, that alley's gonna be more beautiful than it ever was. We're planning on fixing up the Charlotte Alley. Making that all part of that little part, so.
We want her downtown.
Yes.
She's a real go-getter.
Yeah, you need a woman on this side.
Hey, I'm looking for a motion that would request that the, Mr. Todd and Mr. Clark continue to look for the environmental report, and that Mr. Messmore, in the meantime, get an appraisal on the property that hasn't been appraised.
And advertise
So moved.
it. And advertise it.
I second it.
And advertise it.
Beg your pardon, and advertise.
Okay.
Yeah. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Before we go into old business, I would like to request the board to authorize an appropriation or a transfer of funds. I think Ms. Brookrank said we had $2 million in our account, of $60,000 to continue the first-time housing buyer program.
Why don't we just do it all at once so we don't have to do any more? We did 10, we usually
I can't
do
hear
10
you.
of them. I said we usually do 10. Why don't we just do all 10 now, and it's up to 15,000, so put 150,000 into the account.
No, it's not up to 15,000, it's 10%.
10% up to.
Up to 15,000.
10%.
Okay.
So if we put 150, that should cover 10 of them. Satch is gonna build 4. He might have 3. That's 7 of the 10, so we'll just be doing it all over again here in 6 months.
Is that a motion?
I'll make the motion, put 150,000 into the account.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Mm-hmm.
This is a question for you, because I know, they used to do this through Main Street. And it just ran smooth. You got a lot on your plate, and I know that it was aggravating for Grant. I think we did 2 or 3 homes, and they put it in the account. What I'd like to ask you guys is to consider, you can tell me no. I know I've came in here and did some criticizing before, but Main Street did an absolute bang-up job on that particular item, and I would recommend that you consider replenishing their housing project, because I think it would be less work on everybody else involved, and I thought they did a pretty good job of it. That's the only thing I want to say.
Actually, that was going to be the second part of my recommendation. Next, I was going to ask her how it would go. Pat, I mean, you did it last year. Can you come up to the podium and let us know if it's all right to do it the same way this time?
Well, you mean last year is when I think we only ended up having like $6,000 left. And for those projects that were done, the redevelopment appropriated each time, and then Grant had to require a check to be done, and then we got the check. It was a lot more work for everybody involved. Previous to that, we had an amount of money that Main Street started out with. It was there when I became director, and we just administered all of the projects as they came. We really had a pretty smooth process, because really by the time they get to us, we take the money to the closing. So, there's really no risk as far as, if they didn't get a loan, they're not getting the money, because we're taking it to the closing. In some cases, it has to be an electronic transfer. We've been doing it, and it's much simpler, and we have all the documentation for everyone that we ever gave. So we'll be happy to provide you all with the documentation of everyone we ever did, so.
That money is earmarked for that program.
Yes, we have two specific funds. We have in 2 different financial institutions. To be honest with you, at this point, I think I might move them into one financial institution. Yeah, they're earmarked. They're separate. They don't come anywhere near any of our operating dollars. Okay. Any questions?
Question for Mr. Weldon. Do you see any issues with that legally? What Pat was just talking about. Transferring
the money to
Main
Main
Street.
Street.
Let them administer that housing program.
Well, I have to take a look at the funding issue before we can make a decision. We couldn't make a decision tonight. I can look into it and see if that would be okay. I mean, I just want to kind of understand
Yeah.
the issue. The issue is that rather than the redevelopment board, the redevelopment commission, giving these first-time home buyer credits, we would fund Main Street, which is an independent nonprofit, and allow them to make those decisions. So I would have questions
No, they don't
for
make
you
the
guys.
decisions.
Okay, and those would be my questions. My
They don't make
questions.
decisions.
Okay.
They're directed by this.
The board makes the decisions, Dale, and another thing, before we start a big argument like we've had 60 times, it's not first-time home buyers.
Okay.
Make sure you look into that.
Well, and
Anybody.
those are the questions that I would have. And the questions that I would have would be, what are the criteria? What would the board's involvement be versus what would Main Street's involvement be? And then the financial funding issue is a completely separate legal issue that I couldn't give you that opinion.
We would actually say that, that they get it, that they received the grant, but they would just write out the check, basically. They come to the board to get the okay for it.
There's not an interview process that takes place at Main Street. It's done for this board. Completely.
And that's the way we've done it for a long time there. I guess things got a little changed around.
Well, I guess if you're, Pat.
How this program originated, I'm not certain. Tony, maybe you remember, but I think for a redevelopment or a city to give money directly to a homeowner, I think there might have been some income requirements or something that made it kind of a sticky situation. So by giving it to Main Street, you didn't have to get into all that income requirement issues. I believe that's true. I'm not sure, but that was my understanding. So it was kind of to...
Yep.
It was arm's length.
And not just for that program, for many other programs as well, correct? All right.
Correct.
Okay, I think I understand. I can work on that and give you a legal opinion.
Okay.
I might have some more questions, but I appreciate it. No problem.
Thank you. Old business, Mr. Weber, is he here this evening?
I appreciate you taking your time to considering purchasing my father's house, but I'd like to reiterate what Paul said. If I come to next month's meeting, which I probably will, this will be the 6th month I think I've been here. I have a long list of people who want to rent that house, and I don't want to do that to people. I don't want to say, yeah, you can rent it. Oh, by the way, 30 days from now, you're going to be evicted because the city's going to tear it down. So,
Well, I think, Mr. Weber, we asked Mr. Messmore to get appraisals, and we have to wait for those.
Right.
And I don't know how long that takes, but...
Right, so...
But we do have to wait for those.
Okay, so that will be done for the next meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll need a motion to do that for this.
Pardon me?
Will we need a motion to do that for this individual?
I think we've already made a motion. Yeah.
Okay, for all of them? Okay.
Okay.
Larry, is there anything else that I missed? I mean, we talked about the appraisals when we were together, so that's what we were. We knew we had to do that first.
Sure, I
Okay.
realize that. But, I had to keep heating the place so the pipes don't freeze, and, this is a bad time of year. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping something could be done
So
soon.
we understand, but,
I understand.
yeah, as soon as we get it, we'll let you know. Okay?
You know what, Mr. Weber, when I saw that on there, I thought, oh no, here we go. And I really do, and like Paul said and some people, that just keep tabling, and I didn't realize you've gone through that long. That's to the point of almost embarrassment, because I think if any of us were sitting on that side, we would think, forget it. I mean, but at least it looks like now we are going to have an answer for you within 30 days.
Right, I started out in 1974 restoring buildings. The old Aches Grocery building was the first one. That was in terrible shape. Years ago, we got a plaque, my wife and I got a plaque from the Historic Society. We restored the house about 4 houses south of the tattoo parlor with the cupola on it. Beautiful house, the Queen Anne Victorian. And it kind of upset me when Fortune Management came to town and the city gave them like $8 million. And I thought, why don't we reward our local people who are doing things like that? I think more of that needs to be done. I've been a teacher all my life, and I saw too much of that. I saw elementary teachers who worked really hard, an administrative position would come open, and instead of hiring that teacher that was good, that they were sure of, they were so reluctant to do that, yet so much in a hurry to grab somebody from another corporation, and later you find out this person was fired from that corporation, and it was chaos afterwards. But I do appreciate all you're doing.
Well, we appreciate you keep coming back, so hopefully we'll have an answer for you and we'll get on your way.
Brian Messmore?
Yes, another addition to the review of previous minutes, we had understood there was some interest in the Palmer Service Station, and we found in the October minutes from 2015 that a motion and second was passed to get the property appraised after Phase 1 and potential Phase 2 environmental study, which I don't believe we have pursued. So as a matter of old business.
Well, I think at that time, the board was waiting for an agreement, because I think it was agreed upon to deduct the Phase 1 and Phase 2 from purchase price.
I recollect that.
Looking to enter into agreement with Mr. Palmer before we started the Phase 1 and Phase 2.
Well, didn't we find out that this was going into bankruptcy? And
I think that rose
threw some
questions.
questions.
You know what, I think we did, yeah, I think I did hear it, remember that.
Questions up for us there.
That's what
So
she
we
was
don't-
going to enter either into agreement and find out that information. That was past legal. I don't think it ever transpired, so.
So I guess what I would be looking for is if conceptually the board is interested in, moving that direction, what step or steps would you prefer we make or take, to move forward?
Comments from the board?
Since I'm kind of new to this, I look for some of the people that's been around here forever doing it. What do you suggest? What do people suggest? Because it sounds like it could be another table and another table.
Well, I think conceptually, is that property, there, on 50, adjacent to the school property, is that something that fits in with the scheme of our redevelopment plans and, creating great opportunities for,
That's another one that just scares the hell out of me. There's been oil dumped in the back of that property for the last 50 years. So if Phase 2 is going to come up, has to come up. And that could be a lot of money to take care of that, so.
Yeah, but I think it was agreed upon that whatever the cost would be taken off of the purchase price.
That was a motion that was made.
Do you think Phase 2 could cost more than the purchase price?
No.
Well, the only comment I have on that, Mr. Abbott, is sometimes you have to take a chance and figure out what you've got and then make your decision based on that.
Well, keep in mind, you said Phase 2, but that's not abating the property. Phase 2 is just testing the property.
Just to see what's there. The abatement is Phase 3, I suppose.
See, the agreement similar to like with the shopping center, if they do come across something, that owner has to pay for that abatement.
Right.
We're just paying for the Phase 1 and Phase 2.
But it possibly could be the bank if it's going into bankruptcy, right?
Could be.
And I don't know if they'd want to hang on to something like that.
Well, they're going to have a Phase 1 or Phase 2.
Okay.
If they sell it to Joe Q Public or anyone else.
See, that's the whole thing. I don't know this process. If we're buying it from him, but then the bank comes in and gets it, and the process, well, we're buying it from him, where are we?
No, I think we would kind of have our,
Well, we have a determination.
I would think we would have our ducks in a row before we would get that deep into it. I would hope so.
So,
Mario, it may be helpful for all of us, approximately how much does a phase one cost, approximately how much does a phase two cost, and what's the timing? Forgive me if it's unfair to approximate, it
Well,
might be very
case in
different.
point, the shopping center, I think we're gonna be probably about $3,500 into phase one of that property. Of course, that's 3 times the size of that lot over there. That kind of gives you an idea. It's more research on the phase one, time research. And they'll go back from the first title of property if they can find it. So again, for that property, I'm gonna say anywhere from $1,700 to $3,000 for a phase one.
And then what about a phase two? Are you able to approximate that?
Phase two may be a little difficult. I mean, it's still an active property. Otherwise, or other words, they're gonna go in there and do some drilling, boring. So, you know, that may get pricey just to make sure it's not a non-destructive, so he can keep doing business.
And then, Mr. Weldon, based on that, what's discovered in the phase two, you can get estimates on remediation if it's necessary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then the board can make a,
Curiosity,
Yeah.
what bank holds the property?
I don't know that. I don't
Is it
know.
a local bank? Do you know that? I don't know, okay.
yeah, it's probably private information.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
any of us know that.
Yeah.
I think he had disclosed to past legal what the lending source and maybe some of the issues were on the property. I don't know if that's in a file or.
It would be if it was disclosed. Does that help you, Bob? I think it, maybe what I was hearing, and Tony too, what you guys are wondering is, okay, if we do a phase one and phase two just to figure out if it's worth it to buy it, what kind of financial investment are you making just to get from point A to point B?
Yeah, exactly, and,
Yeah.
and if that, I guess it's almost, would you like to find that out first before, and maybe at that, to figure out before you start investing it, if we invest that money in there, and then all of a sudden we can't afford the property because it's still owed a ton on. Can you
I guess
find that
first I
out
would
before?
Just find out if the property's still available.
Because it's in a, depending on how much work, it's prime location right there on 50, so it's been there forever, so.
Thus, there's already a motion been made to enter into agreement if possible to do a phase one, phase two. I mean, the past administration made a motion.
Well, let's
I thought we
proceed
just
with that.
motioned to get it appraised. I don't remember motioning to do a phase one and phase two.
Yeah, I don't know that you can get it appraised until you have a phase two, if a phase two is recommended.
It was going to come off the purchase price.
Purchase price.
Well, let's proceed with that. I'll entertain a motion to ask Mr. Todd to proceed with that, see if we can get an agreement.
And again, legal counsel would have to enter into the agreement before I would proceed.
Do we need a motion? We already agreed to do it, so we shouldn't even need a motion.
Correct.
And I would add to that I'll work with Mr. Todd and Mr. Messmore, and it sounds like what we also would need, and I can tell you that there are tax implications too, a possible tax lien, and then we would also want to know exactly where we are in terms of any kind of bank action or foreclosure, so I can work with Mr. Todd. Sounds like what information that you guys would want would be what's the status with the tax lien, what's the status with any potential foreclosure, what's the status with phase one and phase two, and that'll help you make a decision.
I think it's great. At least gives us know where we stand at, so.
Correct.
But the motion's already been made by the last one's right.
Yep.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is mine. I have a copy of minutes. From December 14th, 2015. This is in reference to Mr. Hutchins' request for $10,000 for a first-time homeowners grant. And I'm trying to find it here. Right here. I can read the motion to you. Under new business, Dennis Hutchins came forward. Leslie Votaw stated she passed out a copy of his real estate contract from August, and that Mr. Hutchins made a motion was here to apply for the new home buyers assistance program. Olin Clausen made a motion to pass this on to the new administration with a favorable review so the funds can be allocated next year. A second was made by Tom Rogers, and the motion passed. So it's up to this board.
Is that 10% or 10,000?
The way I understand it was 10,000, is that correct? It was 10%? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, well, first now I'd have to ask the legality of doing that with this board, because with him being on this board, is there any trouble with that, Dale, or?
I would actually feel more comfortable tabling it until the next meeting so that I can put an opinion together as to, first of all, the process to discuss and vote.
Right.
And then also whether or not, and there have been more issues brought up too as to whether or not it's funded. The way that I would look at this, even though it was passed on essentially, and they did make a vote, it looks like the prior administration did, but they just essentially didn't do anything. They voted to pass it on with a positive recommendation, but that's really doing nothing. So I would view it as an original action for this committee, and that would benefit, I think, from a legal opinion as to how to proceed, viewing it as an issue that occurred today.
Right.
Unfortunately, I hate to delay the process, but we should be careful to do everything the best we can.
Yep, I don't like handcuffs.
Now, on that, originally, when we were talking about that, and it was 10% up to $15,000?
Yeah.
Okay. And then they decided to come into a different agreement, right? And then table it and give it to us, right? In a nutshell? Yeah. Okay.
With a favorable recommendation.
With a favorable. Again, I think that, I understand your legal concerns, Mr. Weldon, but I hate to table something else. We've got 1, 2, 3 tables already. I'm running out of tables.
Yeah, but does this come up to a legality? If the deal was 10% to 15,000, did they have the right to do that? Which, if it's favorable and they can do that, well,
You're asking somebody, I can't answer that.
it's like a contract, I guess, if that's what everybody else was getting. Does that make sense? I don't want to, I don't have a problem at all with the dentist, but if the contract called for that, I don't, is there something that you can read into that?
No, I'm going to step down to the podium.
Go ahead. Just a minute.
Don't mind, I'm going to step to the podium and discuss it. I'm not a member of the council. I can make that a permanent if that's necessary, but, well, excuse me, when I came to,
Well,
let me finish my comments
Yeah, well,
first.
just
I'm going to go
one
on the record with my comments. You
My
tabled
advice-
you tabled this last month.
Mr. Hutchins, can I?
I'd like to make a comment.
Well, just my advice is that we table this, and I would
That's
appreciate
fine.
the opportunity to give the commission an opinion on this issue.
That's fine. You can do as you think legally best, but I would like to make a comment for the record. Is that all right with you?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I came before redevelopment. Mike is sitting in the back row, and Mary and I decided to build a house downtown. And there was a lot of discussion with the board, and there was some tension with it. It was an issue of 2 lots instead of 1 lot. And you could go back and review the things, but it was tenuous at best. And I went through 3, if not 4 months of going back and back and back. And we finally came to an agreement, all right? And the city entered into a contract with me, which I have a contract, and you should have a copy of it. In that contract, I had to forfeit, if I didn't have the house built in 1 year, I had to forfeit all improvements on the lot and pay all legal fees from the city. They wrote that in the night of the contract. You were there, all right? I agreed to everything they asked for. And they said in the contract that I must fulfill the attached agenda, all right? I agreed to all of that, the price of the house and everything else. In that agenda was the fact that I had planned on to ask for redevelopment for the 10% up to a certain percentage. It's in my contract with the city. Now, last meeting, it was on the agenda because it was forwarded, passed through from the previous council as we talked about 10 minutes ago. You specifically tabled it immediately without any explanation. I was fine with that. I didn't say a word. Now we're month 2 into the new administration of this council, and I'm expecting someone to have some discussion. And the first thing, sir, that you say is we need to table it so you can look into it. I thought you were tabling it last month to look into it. I'm just being pragmatic in my discussion. Now, I have entered into an agreement with the city. I have a contract, and I'm asking the contract to fulfill it. That redevelopment board filled it last year, but they didn't have the funds. So they moved it forward to the next year, and here we are. If it's a problem with me sitting on redevelopment, I can step down from redevelopment if that's what you think I should do. But I'm tired of it being tabled, and I want to move forward. That's where I am.
I think, Dennis, I mean, he's looking out for your own good and our own good, okay?
I can appreciate
I think all
that.
you'd have to file is a notice disclosure or something, maybe, and that would be fine, and we're all good. So, but it's going to take a little time to do that, I imagine. But he's looking out for you as well as looking out for us.
Okay.
We just want to do things the right way.
I don't understand the reason for tabling it, to be honest with you. I really don't.
The money's not in the bank yet, my
No,
friend.
I get that. I get that.
We're 30 days away from any monies being in somebody's hands to.
Oh, Paul, I don't need the money in my pocket today.
Well,
I'm
I
talking the
realize that.
legality of the contract. Either I had a contract or I didn't.
I don't think you're
That's
going to
simple.
have any problems. It's just going to take us a while to get there. And it's a procedure that we have to go through.
I think it would be best at this point that I step down from redevelopment because I don't want to be an impediment on that process. And I think it's difficult for me to sit up there and talk about people with loans and everything else when we have an issue where you don't know where we're going with this particular loan. And I'm uncomfortable with it, frankly, sitting up there. I really am.
I don't want to see it rush to some sort of decision like that. We just want to make sure it's done right. That's all it is. Not that you're not.
Tony, I'm not rushing. I made up my mind before the meeting
Wait a minute.
tonight.
Let me
Yeah,
speak.
go ahead.
If we have an agreement to pay you that, we're going to pay you that. But let's do it in the right procedure. Okay? So that you don't get in trouble, he don't get in trouble, we don't get in trouble. Let's just get the right procedure down. That's all it is. It's just procedure.
All right.
It's the same way.
I don't know where anybody's going to get, I'm not going to get in trouble. I haven't done anything. I mean, I fulfilled my contract, and I'm asking the city to fulfill theirs. I'm not worried about getting in any trouble.
Now you're
I've
entity of the
I've
city.
spent all the money I can spend over there on a house. Believe me, I've kept my word, and I've fulfilled my contract. And I'm just saying it's a little uncomfortable. It's a lot uncomfortable for me to sit up here on this board and have me involved in this. It really is. And I think it would be better if I would have stepped down and removed myself from the council. I really
you
do.
wouldn't do that.
I don't understand. I mean, I think it goes to anybody. If it involves you, you abstain from a vote. But I think if Dell's looking at into a contract, if they agree to it, like Mr. Seymour says, the money's there, it's not a problem. But I think when we get down to it, is like to say the 10% or up to 15,000. Is that one lot or two lots? I think we got to eventually after this move forward and decide what is what. You know, this is the rules we're going to play by. But oh my God, Dennis, we don't want you to step down.
I'm not comfortable with the lawyer's attitude tonight on procedure. I'm just not comfortable. If you want to table it, that's fine.
We don't
But-
have to table it.
We just have to proceed and see what's proper and what isn't, you know. Do it the right way.
Well, I wanted to go on the record with how I feel on the commission, and I'm not going to sit up here if I'm not comfortable, and I wanted to air that. Now, some people may find that frustrating, I'm sorry, but I have to live with the decisions that I make. Is that not right?
Well, you know what, in Dell's defense, him being the city attorney, I mean, from what I hear, whether it's hearsay or no say, that this is a sue-happy area, where everybody's suing everybody. Well, maybe the former board could care less about it, but it sounds like we shelled out a lot of money, and if I'm Dell, I'm saying, wait a second, before I promise something, and then I'm starting to backtrack and have to start scramble. I mean, like you said, the money won't be there for another 30 days, but my gosh, we don't want you to step down because you care about the city, like the rest of us do.
I didn't quite hear Dell say it the way you guys are saying it.
Well, maybe but I think, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I think we would like him, as our attorney, to look into it. That's it. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I just sit and watch 4 years of a lawyer group get hammered week after week. And you got a new guy sitting up there, he's 2 meetings into this, and Dennis, I think you're overreacting, because the way I took him, he just wants to do things right, and I think calm down a little bit, because I think the first thing you gotta do is get the money put in somewhere. And
I understand.
I've been learning and doing a lot of reading lately, and there's a lot of things on disclosure. And I'm sitting behind there too, and I'm gonna go through the same thing you are. So just calm down a little bit, give him a chance. He's got 3 years and 10 months to go, and let him have a shot at it.
And if the chair could speak, Mr. Hutchins, I personally don't want you to resign. I think that we've all agreed to do things the right way and make progress for the city. And I think that once all of us get our feet a little wetter than they are now, right now I consider we just have our toes wet, that we'll be able to smooth things out. But let's go through the process, make sure it's proper, and then we can move forward.
No, listen, I don't have any problem.
We know your contract.
No, I don't.
Yeah, we know what your contract is. The money will be there, but it's going to be 30 days. That's the next
No,
one.
I'm not asking for a check tonight, okay? I'm asking for a good faith. Last month was our first month. I understand that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was tabled within seconds from when you brought it up last month. I remember the meeting in verbatim. And you tabled it without any explanation. And I assumed, I should have asked you, I guess, at that point, but I was a little uncomfortable talking about it at that. I'm not uncomfortable with it anymore. But I should have said, are you tabling it to look into it? And then I would have had an answer. But evidently, you didn't do anything with it in the past month. Is that correct to ask that, or? You didn't?
You asking me?
Yeah, there was no money.
Did you table it for lack of funds? Is that why you tabled it last month?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I didn't have any, first of all, I mean, I'm not here to speak. I'm not a commission member. I'm the city attorney. If you ask me questions, I'll answer them, and that's what I've done. As far as me tabling the issue, I had no information at all, one way or the other, about that issue. It was put onto the agenda without me having any context. I can't give a legal opinion upon which I would expect you to act without doing the work to make sure that's a sound legal opinion.
That's fair enough.
So I can't give opinions on the spur of the moment, and I won't do that. It doesn't benefit you.
To be perfectly honest, Dennis, this is the first time, to my knowledge, that Dell has seen these matters. But I agree with Paul. Just take a deep breath and let us go through the process, and things will work out, and they'll work out the proper way.
Mel, I think we have a question.
Yes.
How you doing? Mike Lawrence. Dale, I got a lot of respect for you now. You guys should be glad to have an attorney sitting there next to you that's looking out for you. Because I sat up there for 4 years and I just don't feel I had that. And I researched a lot of laws to do with redevelopment, and that man's looking out for your best interest, because I can tell you there's a clause in there that says anybody sitting up there cannot enter into a contract with this board. So he's looking out for you. I thank you for doing your job. I have a lot of respect for you. And I didn't want people to sue. That's why I tried to do my best. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Lawrence. So, we'll have an answer by the time we get the money transferred, probably, some sort. Okay. Eric Snaybelt?
I'm here still about my invoice, and I brought it to the board.
I'll pass this to Mr. Weldon. I believe you've been involved with negotiations or not negotiating or something.
My understanding is that the prior administration at a public redevelopment hearing, made an offer of settlement or agreed to approve a certain amount. As far as the ongoing negotiations between Mr. Schneebelt and the city, obviously they aren't resolved. I think everyone's hopeful that they will be. And so beyond that, that's a matter, I suppose, that would be handled between Mr. Schneebelt in the city, unless you're asking for further action. So the only thing I can tell you is that I know that at a prior meeting of redevelopment, $55,000 was approved.
Yes.
Brian?
Yes, sir.
Didn't you and the mayor have an understanding on this, as far as he was asking for an extra 10, and somebody made the suggestion that there would be a $5,000 happy medium added to the 55, was it?
I don't know that I could speak directly for the mayor, but I do think that, we are hoping to put this behind us, and, there was a 55 number thrown around from the past, and I think there was a counter in a public meeting for 65. So I think that just, sheer logic was hoping that we could settle somewhere in the middle and take care of this and get it behind us.
And to be fair, and I didn't do a good enough job explaining it, this is your decision. And so just to give some context, the prior administration did approve 55. If there's an amount that the redevelopment commission feels is appropriate, that's a decision that the commission has to make. I can't make it, Mr. Messmore can't make it, the mayor can't make it. It's this is an issue that is your decision, and because it is a new administration, a new commission, I think Mr. Schneebelt's here today to give everyone the opportunity to discuss a new number or the old number or whatever number pleases the commission.
Mr. Snaybelt, we're at 55, you're at 65. Would you be all right with 60?
Sir. If that'll get it over with tonight.
I would make a motion to pay the man $60,000 to settle this impending lawsuit and be done
Have a second?
with it.
I'll second that.
Is there
All
any
in favor?
discussion before we vote on it?
Yeah.
You got it. Could somebody give a new person some information on this whole suit, please?
Eric, you want to tell him what you're doing, bud?
Probably won't be here. I don't think anybody wants to stay here that long tonight. I've been here coming to this commission for almost 4 years now, and it was over, I had a contract with the city to list and sell their property for them. I had some properties that I'd never been paid on, and at the new administration of the last council decided that they were no longer going to use my services. So I wanted to get paid for them. So I've been coming back for 4 years trying to get paid.
So these are commissions, Brian?
These are commissions that I mowed. And
So you sold
I've
property.
negotiated them down.
You sold property that the prior administration agreed to sell you commission on, just like if you were selling mine, and they didn't pay you?
That's what's come down to. I was contracted to list and sell all their properties for them.
Now, that's not completely true. Not all properties. You know that. Now, I will say, I think there was a couple properties you did not get paid for properly.
And those are the properties we're talking
But
about.
you did not get a commission for every piece of property sold in Lawrenceburg. You know that's not the way it's supposed to be. Now,
What were the troubled properties, Brian?
The trouble properties that we had, I don't have the list with me, but we were, one of the properties was the trailer park. You're familiar with that? The property actually where you built your house at, that property through there.
The Scotty and those guys?
Right. And I think one of the other properties there's only like 4 properties on the list now, and the list was larger than that. And we dwindled it down, had meetings, a couple meetings, and brought it down to about 4 properties. And I think it's what the staff agreed that I worked on, and that's my
Well,
understanding.
Brian, I thought it would be irresponsible of me and probably Bob Rybold as new people to not ask a couple of questions before we actually...
You're fine asking.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
I guess, what was their reason?
The reasoning for not, I think when the new administration came in, or the old, the last administration, they said that I never came in front of them, but my agreement was with actually the administration before that.
Okay.
My contract was actually terminated with the last administration. They voted in this development, or in redevelopment to terminate my contract.
Tony, you made a motion, you asked him if he would...
settle this
60.
this lawsuit, pending lawsuit for $60,000.
You're comfortable with that?
Yes.
I would go along
Got
with...
a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Take you about 6, 7 months to get that check. Throw that in there.
Entertain a motion to approve the claims once properly certified.
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any comments from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
I've been one of these people that have been complaining about Pam Ragacci. I've been one of these people that have complained about the loans and how they've kind of just sat and gone dormant. I asked the last administration, nobody could answer this. How can you call these loans current if the balloons were up 3 years ago and they're not paid off? A loan is not current if the whole loan is not agreed and completed. Am I correct?
You're absolutely right.
Okay, so every time they bring these loans up, they say, well, they're current on their payments. Well, if you were current on your payments, then your balloon would have been paid the day it was due, like April of 2012, and you wouldn't be standing here. So how is anything current? I'm tired of hearing this current stuff. Just because you're making a payment doesn't make it current. Can somebody tell me if I'm wrong?
Well, I think, I can't answer that, Pam, but this is, this is the wrong board to bring that up to.
Well, the redevelopment was the one that got the actual loan meeting started back up in the first place.
No, it was a loan committee, and the committee was made up of council members.
Some of these are redevelopment loans, but, I mean, maybe I can help you out a little bit, Pam. We have asked the mayor, I mean, the last administration had an accountant, lawyer firm, they'll go through all these loans. Who's current, whose balloon payments are due, when they're due, and the mayor was to meet with them, I think, last week, or maybe this coming week. And after he did that, then he was going to meet with the rest of us and let us know who's current, who's not current, what balloon, and what we can do to try and get the citizens' money back from these loans.
Well, the last administration made those meetings all open to the public. I attended every one but maybe 2, okay? And I think they should still be open to the public, because one, it is public money, and the only thing that they can't give us information on is like the worksheets as far as the person's assets and liabilities and stuff. But all that other stuff is public knowledge and should be kept public knowledge.
Yeah, okay, well, we haven't even had a meeting over them yet, and so I said the mayor was meeting with them.
Right.
And then we're all gonna have a meeting with them.
I just need to ask this question at the council meeting next time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you might have the answer before you even ask it, because he should tell us when we're going to meet with those accountants.
Well, but my whole question was, how can something be current if the balloons aren't paid? and they were due 2 years ago. That was my
I
question.
feel the same way.
You know, I mean, I just, for a year and a half, I've sat here hearing this, and the loans, you know, these people keep coming up, oh, I'm current on my payments, I'm current on my payments. If you were current on your payments, your balloon would have been paid in April of 2015 when it was due, and you're not current. So don't gild yourself here, you know, and if you're going to come and you're going to ask the city for favors, or you're going to ask the city for more money, or you're going to ask the city to buy property from them, at least be honest enough to say, no, I'm not current, because if I were current, my loan would be paid off. The taxpayers need to understand that. You know, the citizens need to understand that. If you're gonna give these people money, or you're gonna enter into another agreement with them, and they haven't met all of the standards of the last agreement, you're not supporting the taxpayers at that.
Right.
That's just my opinion. Sorry.
Any other comments?
I have a comment for Pamela. Pam, you know, you make a compelling case, but what you don't talk about is the fact that a lot of these, from 2 administrations ago that set up these loans, were the city manager, because his signature is on most of these loans. When these things became ballooned way before last year, the city took no steps to aggravate a new loan. So the city has some responsibility with all of these loans, some responsibility. Not all, but when a person has made their payments all the way up, including their interest, and the city has taken no action to do anything before then, I'm not sure that they're not both wrong. Fair enough? No?
I think that if you're current, what the word current means is up to date on your agreement. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just saying that the city has not done a stellar job of managing.
That was one of my big complaints.
Thank you.
I complained about it publicly. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not talking about this administration.
I told them at the loan meeting, if they drew the line in the sand and stood on it and made these people accountable, things would be different, but the last administration never did. Sorry.
You know what, I want to make a comment. When I asked Eric a question, I heard some people aggravated. I know Eric and Susan, when he walked up there, I had no idea what he was talking about. Owing $60,000. And I thought, what, am I going to vote yes just because it's the right thing to do? I'd sort of like to add an idea on why Eric's coming up and asking for money. So
I agree.
I apologize. I asked that question and aggravated somebody, but before I go telling yes or no, I'd like to find out, unless everybody just wants to get in line for 60 grand and we'll hand it out and I'll agree, but.
You didn't aggravate me
Not
about
that. Because I'm new to all this, when I look at Mario and these guys over here and these guys, believe me, I took this because I live in Lawrenceburg and I want to see some changes. And so many times, like Pam gets up here and comment, that's what we need. Just like this city, that's what we got to know. You got to tell us that that part of the section is a dump, we got to do something about it. Or we're going to stay like we have in this, for the last 30 years. So, and that's my commentary, whether you like it or not, so. But I just want to find out before we start it, so.
You know, I mean, you're in charge of the city's money. I appreciate the fact you asked questions. You know?
Sometimes Gail gives me a look that says, shut up, Bob, but that's okay. You know, it's fun throwing the attorney under the bus every once in a while, so.
That's what I'm here for. A lot of tracks.
Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
After having this much fun?
Then I'll ask for a motion to recess for 5 minutes.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Yes, sir.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
You didn't ask me.
Okay, thank you.
When I asked Harry
Right now.
and I heard her, that lady sit in my pan, oh my God. Because I was like,
Yeah, it's a lot.
Come up here.
But
I didn't know
it's really been kind of fun. This is
Yeah, take the bill.
well, I have it now. It may have been in one of the files that I went through. I have electronic. Perfect. It's got.